What's up, party people and magic makers? Destiny here on this magical Monday. As you know, every Monday I come at you with some sort of a mindset tip or video that you can utilize throughout the week. If you know of anybody that could use this information, please feel free to share it with them, and don't forget to comment below. Give me a thumbs up if you're going to comment with me along with this video, okay? Alright, so today, much like this entire month, we've been talking about money. We've been spending a lot of time on money blocks, but today I want to talk about your money story. See, our money stories are really, really important because they're the reason why we have the blocks that we have. And here's the great news about stories. We can change them, right? Much like when you read an actual story book and you flip through the chapters, if you want to stop reading, you can stop reading it. If you want to pick up a different storybook, you can do that. You can change your story at any time. And you need to know what your story is, and you need to know where it came from. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's dive in. All right, so first things first. I want you to think about when you were, growing up, what are your memories about money? Right? So for example, I remember, I think it was like the first or second grade, and we had those textbooks that you could like punch things out. So they would have little fake pennies or little fake quarters, and you punch them out, and then that way you could do the homework and you could show that you understood the value of each of the coins. I also remember my aunt, oh my gosh, she used to have this really awesome blue VW bug, and that bug, in that bug she would have like in her cup holder, she would have all of these coins. And so she would be like, okay, 81 cents. And I would go in there and I would pick out 81 cents and all different ways to make 81 cents, right? So I knew from a very early age, I'm like, I can do this coin thing, right? But I also remember at the age of 6, 7-ish, watching my dad every night. He would sit at the kitchen table and like just have papers all over it. And I'm like, what's he doing, right? And once a month, there were a lot of papers. And there was a calculator and a notepad, and this is before the days of cell phone, people. And then he would also have like his checkbook, and he would just be running numbers. But the way he was positioned was very like his head would be down, his hand would be on his head, and it looked hard, right? That looked like a lot. That looked kind of crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to. So I started creating this story in my head that even though I was good with the coin thing, being good with the whole money thing, it looked hard. It looked like something that I didn't want any part of, right? So I want you to go back and think, what are the memories that you have of money? Because here's the thing. When it comes to money and our money stories, there's a couple of ways that we get these money stories, right? So the first is that we buy into someone else's story, okay? So mom or dad says something and we're like, okay, well, if that's what mom and dad are saying, then that must be true, right? Or if you didn't grow up with mom and dad, then whoever's household that you were a part of said something, they did something, you saw them do something, and they have their own story running, and you're like, okay, that sounds good, and you kind of adapt that story as your own. The second way that we get our money stories is that we see, we hear, whatever it is, we're watching somebody else with their money stories, just like the first one, but we take that on as our own, and then we develop it, and we make it into something else. Right? So it's not quite the same story, but it's the origin story, right? And like we grow it into something different. Okay? And so when you look at that, you can start to see how the memories, you place them together and you put them together to create this story about money for yourself. Right? And then sometimes we just create our own story. We don't see it from someplace else, we just create it for ourselves. So just like I did, where I was like, ooh, that looks hard. Nobody told me it was hard. I found out like decades later, my dad was like, no, I actually loved doing it. It was a lot of fun. And I'm like, it didn't look like fun. He goes, no, I enjoyed it, right? I had created a story for myself. Okay, so those are the 3 ways that you can get it. Now, within those ways, there are, of course, there's more to dive into. So when you look at your money story, yes, it can come from your immediate family, your whoever your parental units are, the people who are supposed to be taking care of you. When you look at them, it can come from them. It can also come from your family in general, right? So aunts, uncles, cousins, in-laws, whatever that looks like for you. It can also come from your community. If you live in a community that is very big in the poverty mentality, then that can influence you in your money stories. Okay? Then bigger, it can come culturally, right? So you need to start looking at what your money stories are by the memories that you have of money and write them all down. Okay, write them all down. And it doesn't have to be in order of age the first time you write it down. Just let it come and just remember all the things that you, your experiences with money, and get them all out of you. Then go back and attempt to figure out about what age you were when these things happened. Okay, I'm not saying you have to be exact. Like I was just sharing with you, it was about 6 or 7 when I saw my dad at the kitchen table, right? So get yourself a range and then put all of that in order so you can see how your money story was created and grew. Okay, and take a look at that. And that'll start telling you a lot about your money beliefs. Okay, then the second part, where did it come from? Okay, where did it come from? Who was involved? Who was involved in these money memories that you have? Okay, was it your immediate family? Was it mom or dad or brother or sister? Right? Was that it? Or was it culturally placed upon you? Right? So some of you might be like, well, Destiny, what are some culturally placed upon us money stories, right? That there's a glass ceiling for women. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true. What I'm saying is that it's a story that we can change. Okay? So if it's a story that you believe in, it can be changed. Culturally, it was placed upon us as a female, right? Now, whether we believe it or not is a completely different story, which we can also change if you do believe it, right? So start taking a look at the money memories that you have, because that creates your money story. Then figure out who was involved in these memories so you know where you got these stories from, because from there it can be changed, it can be adjusted, it can be tweaked. So instead of holding you back from making the money that you want to make, that you deserve to make, that the world needs you to make, oh man, talk about the success that you can have once you recognize where these stories come from and who was involved, because then you can change it. You can, and you do deserve to have what you want to have money-wise, but that's not what we're taught, right? So let's start changing our stories so we can change the bullshit that's running and going on and kicking up, so that we can be successful, we can have what we want. And more importantly, we can show other people that it can be done and they can do it too. Because, oh boy, you get a whole bunch of us doing it. Watch out, world. We're going to be kicking some butt. All right, so I want to hear from you. What are your money memories? What are they? Start typing them in. Just get them out of your head and put them on paper, right? Start looking at your money memories so you can recognize and determine what your money stories are. Because then you can make a decision to change it. This is very much a choose your own adventure, but we gotta know what adventure we're on, right? What's the point of this adventure? Okay, now we want to we want to make a different choice in our money adventure. Let's do that. Okay? So I want to hear from you. Tell me below, what are your money memories? Just get it all out and let's get this done. All right? So until next week, peace.